Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and can you believe there are only 10 rounds left of the 2025 AFL season? It has gone way too quickly. Some may even say it hasn't gone quick enough. I'm definitely in the former. I can't believe how quickly this season has flown by. I've said it a few times over the past few weeks, but time doesn't seem to be going any slower, so we are going to savour what is left of this season and hopefully a few more wins left to celebrate. Starting this Saturday afternoon at the MCG, we take on Carlton, round 15. Carlton, again, I mean, I don't know about you, but I still have PTSD from Good Friday. It feels like just yesterday I was watching us get absolutely hammered under the roof at Marvel on that very, very warm April afternoon. And I don't know, I don't want to put pressure on us, but I also feel like without pressure and without expectation, then there's no room for us to genuinely improve. And I think this game is so important because it's going to be a true reflection on just how far we've been able to come and grow and develop in the last 60 odd days. I mean, how much can really change in such a short amount of time? A week is a long time in footy, but I'm sure for most of us, Good Friday and the pain and disappointment and frustration from Good Friday, even anger, probably still sits quite fresh in the mind. And before I sat down to film the first part of this preview, I rewatched the video that I put out after Good Friday. I didn't review the game. I just thought that wasn't going to do anybody any good and that was going to help anyone. Rather sit down and just sort of process what had happened at Marvel Stadium the day before. And it was a bit of a call to arms, really. It was a cry for help, for lack of a better word, to the fans, to the club, just for us to try and find a way to figure out who the real North Melbourne is and who we want to be and what each portion of the football club, from the leadership at the very top to the coaching staff to the admin staff to the players to the fans, what each of us have to do to turn this ship around. And I don't think any of us can sit here and say that we are disappointed with what we've seen and the response that has come from the top down over the past 2.5 months. I think the response has been really, really strong on field. We have been involved in all but one game within 10 points, either win, draw or loss. The Collingwood game is the outlier for us rather than the Melbourne game that was the outlier in the first 6 weeks of the season. So we really have been able to turn the ship around. Some of our best players have refound form. Some players, we have unearthed talent that we didn't know existed. We've refound talent that we've been missing for so long. The likes of, Griffin Logue had an excellent game against Fremantle and it was his best performance for a number of seasons, I think. Harry Sheezel's been able to refine some of his best form in the past few weeks, as has LDU. And then we've unearthed the likes of a Riley Hardiman, a Dylan Stevens, a Toby Pink, a Cam Zerha's put together a career best season. Paul Curtis has barely missed a beat since he's come back. Nick Larkey's now chipping in. So slowly and surely it feels like the puzzle pieces are all coming together and it's just about the complete set. And heading into this game against Carlton at the MCG, it's the first time since 2004, over 20 years since we faced Carlton at the MCG, the last time in round 3, 2004. And we have come so far as a football club since then, let alone in the last 10 weeks. So now it's really about the response. And I think Saturday is going to be a true response to the debacle that was the Good Friday game. I am not discrediting anything good, bad, ugly, frustrating, amazing, exhilarating that's happened over the last 10 weeks. But if we want to really make a statement and we really want to prove that we are back on the right track, then Saturday is the best place for us to do so. And I think it's been building in an upwards trajectory since Good Friday. I think Good Friday did set us back quite a bit. And I wonder, and I said this at the time, and I've said this a few times since then, I wonder where we would be now had Good Friday gone a different way. Had we been more competitive? Have we even been able to win the game or at least stick with Carlton for a lot longer than we did? But nonetheless, it happened and we've been able to rectify it, and we're coming off one of our best performances of the season over in Perth against Fremantle. I mean, for most people, that performance was one of the best of the year. Like I said in the review of the game, I think some people would actually have that higher than the win against West Coast the week before, which is crazy, but each to their own. So let's just hope we can take the fighting spirit and the effort and the performance that was on display at Optus Stadium against Fremantle and the result that we were able to find and the result we were able to come to in the game the week before against West Coast for a really inspiring performance, an inspiring victory against the Blues this Saturday afternoon. I did just say this preview is going to be filmed in 2 parts. It's currently Wednesday evening and I'm filming the first part of this preview. Tomorrow night, which is Thursday, I will be joining Terry on Blue Abroad for the team show. This will come out on Friday morning and it'll be a combination of the two. So I won't talk about teams too much now. I will save that for the chat I do have with Terry on air tomorrow night. Well, last night if you are watching this when it comes out on Friday, but rather just talk about North and how we need to approach this game. And heading into that Good Friday clash, North was in the bottom 4 for defense in the competition, and it is safe to say we have absolutely turned that part of our game around over the past 10 weeks, however long it's been. I think it's been 9 rounds, 8 games. So I would definitely expect us to be able to match it defensively with the Blues, especially in the middle of the ground. We have only been scored over 100 points against once in the past 8 weeks. We know that Collingwood game was probably the outlier in the recent sample size. And for those of you who did watch my video with Pommy earlier in the week, I said then, and I'll repeat it now, I think going into that Good Friday game, I really felt like it was an even ledger, and maybe that was me overestimating what we had achieved in the first 5 rounds of season 2025. I think for me, that performance against Melbourne was unlike anything I had seen from North Melbourne for quite some time, and I think I put a lot of emphasis on what I'd seen in the game against Melbourne and then what I'd seen in, let's say, the first half against the Crows, that I felt like it was kind of carrying over, and I still sort of believed that North Melbourne was there and that North Melbourne is who we were going to be, despite the eventual loss to Adelaide or Sydney or the Suns. But the scorelines spoke for themselves. They were 3 demolition jobs. So by the time we came to Good Friday, the D's game still, fresh in my mind. I don't think that will leave anyone's mind for quite some time. And then the poor start to season 2025 from Carlton, I probably felt like that game was a lot more even heading into it than the reality. And I was proven so wrong on the day. It's not to say that we are so far apart now. I definitely think that we've been able to find maybe not our best footy. If the D's game is a representation of our best footy in season 2025, then I don't think we've refound our absolute tipping point. However, we have been able to find a somewhat competitive happy medium and I think a more sustainable brand of footy that will, in the long term, see us generate more victories and more positive results and scores at the end of the day. Of course, I would do anything to have another game like the D's game, but I just don't think that's sustainable. I think that is sort of magic in a bottle for a quarter, and it's really just a fond memory at this stage, unfortunately. But it's not to say that the brand of footy, like I said, that we're putting out at the moment is going to be more sustainable and will hold us well in the long term. I do really feel like we're a genuine chance to win this game. I think the theme for this week is how much can really change in such a short amount of time, and we are not too far away from finding out. Now, I don't want to talk about the team lineups too much here because, like I said, this preview will be done in 2 parts. It's Wednesday night currently, and I'm filming the first part of the preview tomorrow night, Thursday night, which would have already been by the time this video goes live. I will be joining Terry from Blue Abroad to talk through teams live as they are announced. So I will include some snippets from that chat following the bulk of this video. But if I'm sitting here on Wednesday night speculating, there are a few question marks around key players at both ends of the ground for both sides. We already know Harry Mackay and Sam Walsh won't be out there on Saturday for Carlton. Charlie Curnow is also under an injury cloud and he absolutely loves playing against North. We don't wish any ill on any opposition player when it comes to injury, but it would definitely be a big boost if North could face Carlton without him. At the other end of the ground, Cam Zurhaar, he was battered and bruised from pillar to post on Saturday against Fremantle. There is no mention of him in the injury report in the early stages of this week, but I know that he was back at the club during the week with a few bandages, a few new accessories. I don't think we can undersell how important he has been for North this season. Saturday against Fremantle was the first time this year that he has been held goalless in a game. He was one of only 2 players in the competition at that point of the season to get there. So I think with the right matchup and a bit of freedom and a bit of flexibility to play the role that he needs to play, we're reaping the rewards and so is he. So hopefully we can have him out there, as I think it will be a much bigger loss than we realise if he doesn't line up for us on Saturday afternoon. I also know heading into the week that Charlie Comben and Jackson Archer were both rumoured a potential return ahead of schedule. Now we'll know, it's Friday morning when you're watching this, so we'll know by now how the team looks, but I would be pleasantly surprised if either of them made a return to the side. Callan Dawson probably looks a little bit vulnerable at this stage. He wasn't too good against Fremantle, and so I would think that if one of them were available, then he may be the one to make way. Toby Pink has just about solidified his spot in this defence. He's been absolutely unreal for us over the past month or so, and Griffin Logue was excellent against his old side at Optus Stadium over the weekend. That's the Griff we know and love, and here's hoping we can see more of that solid form from him as the weeks roll on. One matchup I am very interested to see how it unfolds is the ruck battle. We do have one of the best ruckmen in the competition at our disposal in Tristan Cherry, but TDK has a day out against North almost every single time he plays us, so I'm very, very interested to see how that works. I'm also interested to see if Carlton have brought in a second ruck in Mark Pitnet. Should Charlie Curnow not be playing on Saturday, then potentially TDK floats down forward when needed and Pitnet is there to chop him out in the ruck. I guess only time will tell. We'll know the news when this already comes out, so I'll leave that discussion for a little bit later on. All I will say is if we can bring our best footy and replicate some of the footy that we have shown over the past couple of months to the MCG on Saturday afternoon, then we are absolutely a chance to win this. I'm not being delusional. I'm not being unrealistic. I think, like I said, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and probably on reflection, I might have been going in a little too optimistic and a little bit too carefree when heading into that Good Friday game, and maybe that's why I got burnt so badly. My expectations of that game were just completely on another universe to what actually happened, whereas I think our past couple of months really says to me that this is a game that we absolutely can win and need to give ourselves the best chance to win. We did it against Fremantle, who are 2 or 3 wins ahead of Carlton at this stage on the ladder. So why not us, and why not now? If there was ever a time for us to take a scalp like this, then the time is now. And I say that because over the past few seasons, outside of Richmond and West Coast, there's very few teams we've been able to beat, and it's only been on a one-off occasion. So I'm looking at Carlton and I'm thinking they're potentially vulnerable with the lack of key players. They've been missing quite a few key personnel. They've definitely had some difficulty winning games this season as well, whereas us, we're building, I think internally we'd be feeling good, we'd be feeling confident, and if there was ever a time for us to do it, now would absolutely be the time. I'm going to leave this part of the preview now. We're going to head over 24 hours from now. I'm sitting down with Terry from Blue Abroad. We're talking all things team. We're talking all things Saturday afternoon. I'll be back after that.
What's going to happen? What's your prediction for what's going to happen with teams, ins and outs?
So I think there'll just be the one change for North. I think Charlie Comben will return, which surprises me. I didn't think he'd return so soon. He cracked his shoulder against West Coast a couple of weeks ago. We actually made the decision to stay in Perth, to stay with the side rather than coming home early, which I thought really speaks volumes of the kind of culture that we're building at North. It was shattered in a million pieces at the end of 2020. And so for us to be at this point now, 5 years on, I think is awesome. So I think it'll be Charlie Comben returning and Callan Dawson making way for him. I'd be very surprised if we made any other changes. I think the last 2 weeks have been pretty much spot on field. So I don't think, and I'm not really one for making too many unforced changes, especially for a side that so desperately needs continuity and consistency. And I think part of the confidence will come from us being able to stay together as a 23 as best as possible.
I think I just saw someone in the chat say that Josh Gabelich has confirmed that Comben is in just now. So on the money, Mars, mate. You're on the pulse.
Yeah, well, he trained. There was rumors coming out of the club earlier this week that he was a test. And yeah, there was I think someone said today they saw him at training. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if there was another change. That is where I'll leave it for this round 15 preview. How are you guys feeling heading into Saturday afternoon's clash? Do you think we can get the job done over the Blues at the MCG? Leave all of your thoughts in the comments below. We can keep chatting over on socials as well. Kanga TV Show on Instagram, X, Facebook, and email. I look forward to seeing all of you at the MCG on Saturday afternoon. It is so nice to be back at the footy. It's been way too long since I've watched our beloved North Melbourne run out in person. I will see you shortly after that for the review. Hopefully it is a happy review and hopefully it's a winner's review to cap off round 15. Go Roos.